Hello, and welcome back, gentle viewers. Welcome to the new year, makeup enthusiasts. My name is Jamie. I live in Saudi Arabia, and I have a makeup collection that just keeps getting larger. However, today, that's not what we're discussing. Today, we are departing a little bit from your normally scheduled programming of makeup stuff with bad video quality, and I am going to give you a fresh new installment of makeup and art history, or made-up art history, also with bad video quality. So before we begin, I will discuss kind of the origins of this idea and what our subject of discussion is for today. So in addition to living in Saudi Arabia, I lived in Egypt for a solid year, and I also have a bachelor's degree in history of visual art and culture, which makes me only just qualified enough to give you like a brief art history lesson for extra dummies in the form of doing my makeup and talking about it. All right, so in addition to discussing the historical background and the significance of a piece of art, a sculpture, monument, or in today's case, a historical site, I'm also going to give you a play-by-play and a personalized story of the time I went to and saw these places and looked at these things IRL. I'm also going to give you a fair warning that today's discussion will in fact include a little bit of IBS issues. More on that later. Also, fun fact, the week that you're going to be seeing this is the same week I'm going to be going to Egypt. I'm so excited. My boyfriend is going to be going to Egypt with me, and it's his very first time there. And I am so freaking excited I could die. So, if you're interested in watching something like this while I do my makeup and I talk about stupid stuff that I've seen and art history, then please stick around, like, subscribe, comment, tell me that you like what I'm doing. Thanks. So with that in mind, let's begin our discussion about the Howard Carter house, located in Luxor. Okay, so I might have mentioned approximately 100 times that I, in fact, lived in Egypt. I've mentioned it maybe 100 times today. And Egypt is my very favorite country right now, you know. Luxor is easily one of my favorite places in the entire world to visit. I wouldn't live in Luxor, but it is so frickin' beautiful, I could die. So I'll give you a minor disclaimer that if you are not interested in Egyptian art history or discussions about ancient Egypt, well, this whole venture is going to be rather heavy on that particular subject matter. So if you're into it, then strap in. And I'm going to be doing something weird. Hopefully this eye look turns out. I don't know yet. So I've been to Luxor a few times, but I've only actually been to the Howard Carter house one very memorable time. Yeah, this is gonna be a real trust the process kind of look here. I can already tell. I'm already afraid. Shaking in my boots right now. By the way, I'm using the Antidote palette, the Stacey Marie collaboration palette with BPerfect. Like, what else do I do? What else do I use? So all of the makeup that I'll be using is gonna be listed in the description box below. And yeah, we'll discuss. To start, let's talk about who I'm even talking about. Let's begin there. Who even was Howard Carter? Who is he? Who's the guy? So Howard Carter was a British archaeologist who excavated King Tut's tomb beginning in 1922. Howard Carter first went to Egypt as an artist hired to sketch artifacts and stuff from archaeological digs. And he went on to become the lead excavator in excavating out King Tut's tomb. You know, that guy? That guy? You know? There are some things that we, like, going forward in this kind of discussion, there's some things that we need to understand about archaeology in the 19th century and just kind of the conditions that led up to the discovery of King Tut's tomb. Okay, so at the time, the British occupied Egypt in the late 19th century? Is that what I have written? So this period saw an increased European interest in archaeology and especially Egyptology. And Europeans were getting a big old boner for going to Egypt and kind of seeing what they could find. By the way, if I don't make it clear in the rest of the episode, by find, I mean steal. stealth. So the 19th century in Europe was considered to be the age of science. So like scientific discoveries and expeditions and experiments were yielding a lot of different results and a lot of data. And the 19th century Europeans were also very good about cataloging everything that they found, all of the data that they drummed up from different experiments. So archaeology was also considered to be a relatively new science. So even though archaeology as a field of scientific inquiry was relatively new, Europeans were interested in what's referred to as antique culture, which just means like, I'm gonna go over here and steal some things from you, okay, thanks. They'd been interested in that since the 16th or 17th centuries. So Egyptian archaeology began with Napoleon's invasion of Egypt, and what he did is he brought some scholarly types with him that began to record all of the archaeological remains. And this happened in 1798. That's when Napoleon invaded Egypt. As a result of these scholars cataloging everything, this led then to the ability to decipher ancient Egyptian writing. And that discovery was kind of profoundly made in 1822. So you can't discredit that these discoveries and all of this cataloging gave rise to museums and a lot of the catalogs and records that we have access to even still today. So, in fact, the Cairo Museum was established in Egypt by the French. I have been to the Cairo Museum many, many times. Waiting for that Grand Egyptian Museum to open though. Hurry up! The French are also largely responsible, well, the French and the British are largely responsible for the systematic and controlled research of the Mediterranean and the Middle East at large. Bringing it back, our boy Howie, he ended up in Egypt at the age of 17 in 1891 to work on the Egyptian Exploration Fund's excavation of, man, I just had it. Hang on. The Middle Kingdom tombs at Beni Hassan. So Carter worked under different archaeologists at sites including Armana, which we are definitely going to get into later. Armana is one of my favorite things to talk about and favorite things to look at, or just like anything archaeologically related from Armana. Super fun to look at. And he was also working at Deir el-Bahri, Thebes, Edfu, and Abu Simbel. Howie was so popular because he was kind of known in the community for finding innovative ways and new ways to draw and recreate wall reliefs that hadn't been done in that way before. And in 1907, Howard Carter was hired by a wealthy English aristocrat. This name messes me up every time. It's Lord Carnarvon. Oh. So Lord Carnarvon, ew, was fascinated with Egyptology, which just means that he likes to steal things. Let's make that clear. So I'm not just being a bitch when I say things like that. I watched a little documentary about the Howard Carter house and kind of the discovery of King Tut's tomb. And they went through the house, which is, like a state-owned house at this point, I think, in the UK. And one of his great-grandchildren or whatever, was kind of discussing about how he and the whole family were collectors of things, you know what I mean? They were all collectors of things, and they all wanted the best of a time, which is a little bit irritating to me because I am not exaggerating when I say that I have seen stolen artifacts in almost every country outside of Egypt that I've ever visited. No joke. So it is kind of just this willful entitlement that was prevalent at the time, where you could just go into someone's country and take their antiquities, you know what I mean? So I don't like that, but anyway, continuing. In 1914, Carnarvon received a license to dig at the site where it was believed that King Tut was buried, but then there was a little interruption at the time called World War I, so they had to put pause on that for a bit. After the war was over, The dig resumed in the Valley of the Kings, where they had a license, but Lord Carnarvon was still not super happy with the progress or lack of progress that had been made in trying to find the tomb. So remember, they had started in 1914 and it was now 1922. So even though like war had kind of been a problem, Lord Carnarvon was over it. He was ready to be done. So he put a deadline of one more season. They had one more season to find this tomb. I should mention too that at the time that Lord Carnarvon hired Howard Carter, he was broke tits, like having a real hard time making ends meet. And Lord Carnarvon on this dig had spent what would be now $20 million in trying to find this shit. So the reason that it was so hard to find this particular tomb, and you can kind of see it like in the formation of the rock and the tombs, how they're all situated. If you ever go visit, which of course I encourage that you do, but you can kind of see why it took so long. The tomb is really oddly situated under the tomb of Ramses VI. It's like under a hill. There's almost like a rock hill, and then Ramses VI's tomb is up on top, and then Tut's tomb is just like wee right at the bottom. And what had ended up happening is that some of the workers had been camping over this particular spot, and they hadn't think thought to look there quite yet. So it was a huge discovery, but it took a long time. And what ended up happening is that a water boy, I guess, dropped some water jugs or something and kind of felt or found or saw what looked like a stair. And then he kind of dug at it, and then he found another one. At which point he went and grabbed Howard Carter. Okay, so I guess this kid didn't fall or something. He was like digging with a stick, but regardless. So they excavated out the stairs, and then they found kind of the door to a tomb. And at that point, Howard Carter was like, hey, Lord Carnarvon, you got to get your butt over here. Things are happening. So they had to wait for Lord Carnarvon to make it to Egypt. November 26, 1922, both Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon entered the tomb of King Tut for the first time. In the like kind of antechamber to the tomb, they found a huge collection of gold and all kinds of artifacts that had never been seen before. So such an extensive collection had legit never been seen before. So keep that in mind. Like, everyone was shitting their pants about this. Then the rest of the tomb and the actual like chamber where King Tut's body was excavated and opened on February 16th, 1923. Almost exactly 100 years since this discovery was made. And, that's pretty cool. So all of Howard Carter's notes and detailed drawings of the discovery and the excavation are now in Oxford in the UK. They're in a museum. And it took approximately 10 years for the whole of the tomb to be completely excavated. And Howard remained in Egypt for the duration of the excavation, which is where the Howard Carter house comes in. That's where he was staying. The excavation was completed in 1932, and after it was complete, Howard Carter, being that he was now one of the most famous archaeologists ever, he went on to tour the United States and give lectures about the discovery and just talk about ancient Egypt as well. He was touring all over the US and in the UK, blah, 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 blah. Howard Carter died on March 2nd, 1939 of lymphoma. Sad day. So I'm not going to talk too much about the tomb or anything like that because I can save that obviously for later episodes. I will put a picture of me and my sister at the tomb. We've been there, and I will tell you about that particular day for me and my experience visiting the Howard Carter house. So we kind of finished discussing the man. Let's actually talk about the house. So the house is located on the west bank of Luxor, which is where Valley of the Kings is located. And it was Howard Carter's house for the duration of the dig, and it was uninhabited after he left. So Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass, he's very famous. My boyfriend and I watch stupid things about Zahi Hawass all the time. He decided, and he thought that it would be a good idea to let the house remain and also become a touristic museum site so that people can kind of get some insight as to how Howard Carter spent his time. So within the house, there are drawings of the excavation, notes, clothes from the time, things like that. And there's a large garden for visitors to kind of troll around in. And it's supposed to give you some insight on how things were going, what things were like. It's located at the base of Valley of the Kings, so Howard could just take a quick little turn up the hill and be right there in the middle of the action, ready to find things. It's been left in its original state. It still has all of the antique furniture, maps, letters, things like that are still in the house. So it's interesting, vaguely interesting if you're into that kind of thing. If you're really wanting to understand the man and the process of excavation and what it took to find the tomb of King Tut, then yeah, check it out. Oh, I might have messed up. Did I mess up? Not yet, not quite. There's also a couple of replicas of the furniture found in King Tut's tomb as well. The actual artifacts up until recently were in the Cairo Museum, and they are now going to be located in the Gem Museum, or the Grand Egyptian Museum, that is set to open. We don't know. We're still wondering. Now it's projected to open in 2023. It is open for special events at this time, but I would really, really like to go, please, and thank you. That would be nice, especially this upcoming visit. Open, damn it! This is where all the biographical information ends and where my experience begins. So, imagine a day such as June 4th, 2018, and this was my very first time in Egypt. So, I went to Egypt for the first time with my sister, and our first order of business was actually to go on a riding holiday. So we booked for, I believe it was 6 days. We stayed in Egypt 10, but we booked 6 days with essentially a riding company in Egypt. And when we landed not in Luxor, but in Hurghada. Hurghada is beach, and kind of the place where we would get our feet wet, so to speak, and then go look at more historical stuff from there. So we went to Hurghada, and this was a breakneck speed adventure, as in we landed and then it was 6 a.m., ride the horses, 8 a.m., eat things, 10 a.m., do this, 11 a.m., get on the boat, da-da-da-da. It was you are on vacation and you're gonna like it, damn it. Ugh. Look at this. So the first day we went riding, and it was hot. Oh my God, it was so hot. Now I would be cute. But at the time, my little self was just what even is this? What is this heat? It was also during Ramadan, so it was kind of a weird time to go. But it was so monstrously hot. That's all I can remember. And especially like down by the Red Sea in the summertime, it is unmentionable. It is so hot, you could cry. So, like I said, we were up super early, jet lagged to oblivion, and then going out and galloping these horses and doing like kind of some physical stuff, okay? So it was one of those occasions where I was like willing myself to participate because we got to make the most out of this. This is the best time we're ever gonna have. You know what I mean? So it was getting to be a lot. So I think that first day we got on the horses, rode really early, and then we got on a boat and we went snorkeling. This is going somewhere, I promise. So we were snorkeling also in hopes of seeing dolphins. So we're like cruising around in like the Red Sea in the bay, and we're trolling for dolphins. So we go around and the guide will see dolphins and be like, get in the water now. And then you're supposed to jump in after these dolphins and see the dolphins and swim with the dolphins. It's not as like romantic and magical as you would think because, by the way, my sister nor I know how to snorkel. We don't have the absolute foggiest clue how to snorkel at all. 0%. So we're kind of jumping in after these dolphins, and I remember one image that will forever stick out in my brain is, you know, I have this snorkel gear and I'm like trying to figure out how to do it, and all I see is my baby sister just sinking to the bottom. And I'm like, good, I'm gonna be responsible for having killed my sister in Egypt. Great, perfect. So I, in the middle of trying to figure out how to snorkel, probably, my guess is, sucked up and swallowed a metric crap ton of seawater. That's my guess. That would be my guess. So after we do dolphin things, I think I did even get kind of sick then. So I was like either sick or tired or something. And mind you, we're on a friggin' boat. And I think I took a nap and laid down, and I was just kind of like, listen, I'm out. I'm out for the count right now. And I think I took a nap, something like that. So then later that evening, we were transferred over from Hurghada, which is south of Cairo, but we went from Hurghada south to Luxor. Luxor is closer to the Sudanese border. And by the way, on the way to Luxor, there are two roads that you can take. And I think what the deal is that one of the roads is not legal to take tourists on. That's what my inclination is, because at one point, our guy was like, okay, when I tell you to get in the back and stay down, get in the back and stay down. Which sounds real, real spooky to a person who's never been out of the country before, and probably just to generally people. The things I've seen, the things I've done. Anyway, so sure enough, we were told at a certain point, I think a checkpoint even, that we are to get down and wait for the all clear, which we do. It wasn't dramatic or anything. It was just, funny. And the reason however, the reason being is that I'm pretty sure there's like bandits out in the desert, and it's not safe for, cute little white lady tourists to be wandering around in a strange car in the middle of nowhere in Egypt. Yeah. So maybe that's the reasoning. I'm not sure. I think it is. I'll have to reinvestigate that. Someone told me what the reason behind that was, but I'll have to ask him again. And yeah, so we arrive in Luxor pretty late. I have no bearings at this point either. I am just tired and I am just ready to not. Just not anything. I'm ready to die, basically. So then I wake up the next morning and I am just hot. Like, I'm sitting around. I think I had some yogurt. There's no God, oh my God. By the way, if you ever go to Egypt, my advice to you is if you drink coffee, bring yourself a French press. Just trust me, okay? Don't rely on them to have coffee. They won't. Well, they'll have it, but it's like instant coffee. And if you're anything like me, that's a hard no. That's an absolutely not. So my thought initially was that we were going riding this morning. No. We are not going riding this morning. We are going to Valley of the Kings and Valley of the Workers. And I'm like, should I change? Because I'm wearing long pants and a long shirt intended for riding. And granted, it should be like somewhat cool, given that like it's not like I was wearing winter boots or anything, but it could have, it maybe wasn't the best choice of outfit for traipsing around looking at stuff. But then the guide got there and she was like, "Yellow, let's go." So I was like, okay, I'm gonna yell and let's go. So we get there. And like I said, Valley of the Kings, King Tut's tomb, here we are. So we're going around and I mean, we go to the Temple of Hatshepsut. And I am melting. Just absolutely about to die, I feel. And I keep going and I keep going. And I'm like, yeah, something's not right. Something's brewing and it's not gonna be good. So we get down and I'm just begging for this to be over. I'm like, just please stop talking and let me go lay down. Things are moving around. I can straight hear my belly going like, you know what that means. And I will mention too, in general, I have a quaky belly. My whole family is aware of just how finicky my belly is. So I make it down from Valley of the Kings. And then it's like, then we have to go to the Howard Carter house. And then we have to go to Valley of the Workers. And I'm just sitting there going like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. This isn't good. This is not good. So we go to the Howard Carter house. And we're talking. And we're listening to the guide. And all I can think about is how much I don't want to poop my pants in front of this lady. And after a while, I am just like, listen, is there a bathroom here? Oh yeah, it's around here somewhere. No, but seriously, is there a bathroom? Is there toilet paper in this bathroom? I need to know. And it's one of those things too where like the tour guide is a nice, you know, Egyptian hijabi lady. She might be a little bit prim and proper. And I have to go up to her and be like, Emma, I really need a bathroom right now or I'm going to shit my pants. We're still friends, by the way. She follows me on Facebook. She's a lovely woman. So the reason that I chose the Howard Carter house, because there does in fact exist a photo of me absolutely clenched as tightly as God allows in the Howard Carter house, just holding on for dear life. Here it is. Then also, to make it even more demented, this is the photo that my family chose to use as basically a stencil, or I don't know. They printed out a photo, this photo. They printed it out cut out my head and then placed it in family photos that year for a Christmas picture where I was missing. And also to cheer on my sister while she graduated from college. This is the photo that they used. My family is demented. So, if ever you're wondering, if you're in Egypt or you're planning on visiting Egypt, definitely bring Pepto-Bismol. I think it was the salt water, but it's really hard to say. Truly. I couldn't tell you. So, I have not been back. I have not been back to the Howard Carter house. I don't know that I need to go. I think I've seen everything I wanted to see, including that bathroom. I won't get into too many details of how I spent the afternoon after that, but I, suffice to say, did not go to the Valley of the Workers, and I don't really have much memory of the Howard Carter house itself. But c'est la vie. All right, so here is the finished look. What a beast. This is pretty fun, actually. I enjoyed this a lot. This is not my best work up through here, but I haven't really done that before too much, so excuse my blend. I really like it. I think it turned out super pretty. Just don't look at this eye so much. Anyway, I thought it was fitting, not appropriate, but like, for me, appropriate to start out the year describing this sort of thing. The reason I chose this palette is because I wanted to kind of emulate how Luxor looks. So it just looks from like up in the hills in Valley of the Kings and in Temple of Hatshepsut. There's just like desert, green, very tropical green, and then desert again. It's really wild. So I kind of just wanted to emulate that a little bit in the eye look. I also wanted to give myself a little bit of an Egyptian flair. I had to practice that. I'm sure you've seen it, so yeah. I thought it was appropriate to start the year off about Egypt and also an embarrassing story about myself in Egypt, because why not? It's all for good and fun, right? So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you are interested in seeing more videos like this, and if there's anything in particular you'd like for me to talk about next. Maybe a less ridiculous story. We could start there. Or, you know, whatever, I can make it worse. It's very possible. Thanks for watching, have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Okay, did I fix it now? Are you fixed? Kind of. Yeah, I didn't. It's better. It's kind of better. It's not as bad, right? It's not as bad. Oh my god, it is kind of bad.